Your brain is currently being used as a weapon against your own happiness. While your high IQ and advanced pattern recognition are the reasons you're successful in your career, they are the exact tools sabotaging your love life right now. You aren't crazy, and you aren't insecure. You are caught in the intelligence trap. Think about the last time a three-word text or a slight shift in your partner's tone sent you into a 4-hour mental spiral, calculating every possible exit strategy. That's not logic. That's your analytical mind manufacturing a crisis out of thin air because it's bored by stability. In the next few minutes, we're going to deconstruct why being rational is actually the most irrational way to handle love, the hidden cost of your high emotional intelligence, and the one specific cognitive shift that separates lonely high achievers from those in effortless, secure relationships. If you don't break this loop today, you aren't just overthinking, you're literally optimizing yourself for a life of solitude. This isn't just a personality quirk. It's a biological mismatch. See, your brain is wired for survival, and for a high performer like you, survival means anticipation. In your professional life, you are rewarded for seeing the disaster before it strikes. You get a promotion for identifying that 1% margin of error in a contract. You're hailed as a visionary because you can predict market shifts based on the subtlest cues. You've spent years training your mind to be a high-frequency trading algorithm, always scanning, always calculating risk, always looking for the catch. But when you bring that same hyper-vigilant processor into your relationship, it becomes a weapon of mass destruction. You start treating your partner's silence not as a human need for rest, but as a leading indicator of emotional withdrawal. You analyze the cadence of their voice like a stock ticker, looking for the exact microsecond the value of the connection starts to dip. You aren't experiencing love anymore. You're conducting a constant, 24/7 forensic audit of a crime that hasn't even been committed. The tragedy is that you think this mental labor is an act of care. You tell yourself, I'm just being observant, or I'm just protecting us. But in reality, you're suffering from cognitive overfunctioning. You are doing the emotional work of two people trying to control a narrative that hasn't even been written yet. You are literally living in a simulated future of potential heartbreak just to avoid the perceived weakness of being present. You've convinced yourself that if you can just understand the why behind every sigh and every K, instead of a love you text, you'll be safe. You think your intelligence is your shield. But here is the cold, hard truth that your ego is currently trying to hide from you. Your overthinking isn't actually about your partner's behavior at all. It has nothing to do with their mixed signals or their attachment style. The real reason your brain is spinning at 10,000 RPMs is because your analytical mind isn't trying to protect you from a breakup. It's trying to protect you from the one thing a high IQ person fears more than failure: simplicity. Simplicity is a threat to your identity because you've built your entire life on being the person who sees what others miss. To your brain, simple means lazy. If a relationship is easy, you assume you're just missing the red flags. You've conditioned yourself to believe that work equals value. So when love doesn't feel like an intense 40-hour work week of emotional labor, you think it's failing. You are caught in the control trap. In business, you control the outcome by analyzing the data. In love, the more you analyze, the more control you lose. Why? Because you're trying to solve a person like they're a math equation, forgetting that people are made of variables that change every hour. You're looking for a permanent solution to a temporary mood. Think about the meta conversation. You aren't just talking to your partner. You're talking about the way you're talking. You're evaluating the conversation in real time, checking for consistency, searching for contradictions. It's like watching a movie while staring at the pixels on the screen. You see everything, but you've completely missed the story. This is analysis paralysis applied to the heart. You spend so much time preparing for the what-ifs that you are never actually present for the what-is. You are essentially ghosting your own relationship while sitting right there on the couch. You think your skepticism is a survival skill. It's not. It's an isolation tactic. And here is the most uncomfortable part. Your overthinking is actually a form of arrogance. You believe your intellect is so powerful that you can predict another human being's future actions better than they can. You've decided you know their true intentions before they've even finished their sentence. You aren't listening. You're just waiting for the evidence to match your theory. But what if the theory is wrong? What if the signals you're picking up aren't clues to a disaster, but just the noise of a normal, messy human life?
I know, right?
If you don't learn how to switch off the diagnostic mode, you will eventually find exactly what you're looking for, a reason to leave. So how do we stop the machine? How do we take that 150 IQ and apply it to connection instead of conspiracy? It starts with recognizing the false security of logic. To dismantle the machine, you must accept a truth that feels like a total surrender to your analytical mind. You cannot think your way into being loved. The one specific cognitive shift that separates the lonely high achiever from the securely attached is the transition from solving to witnessing. When you are in diagnostic mode, you are acting as a judge. When you are present, you are acting as a partner. The false security of logic has convinced you that if you can map the disaster, you can prevent it. But love is the only arena where the more you try to map the terrain, the more the ground disappears beneath your feet. You have been using your intelligence to minimize risk, but intimacy is by definition the total absence of safety. It is the brave, irrational act of being seen without a strategy. Stop treating your partner like a case study and start treating them like a mystery that is never meant to be solved. When that 3-word text arrives, or the tone shifts, and your brain prepares to launch its high-frequency trading algorithm, stop. Realize that your anxiety isn't an intuition. It is just your brain's way of avoiding the terrifying, quiet vulnerability of the present moment. Your intelligence was never meant to be a shield. It was meant to be a spotlight. Use it to illuminate your partner's complexity and beauty, not to cross-examine their consistency. The ultimate enlightenment for the high IQ mind is realizing that the stability your brain finds boring is actually the peace your soul has been starving for. You don't need a more complex algorithm. You need a more profound surrender. You are finally safe enough to be simple. You aren't losing your edge by trusting. You are finally using your power to build a home instead of a fortress. The greatest use of your brilliant mind isn't to predict the end, it is to fully inhabit the now, over and over again, without needing to know what happens next. Transitioning from solving to witnessing is the most difficult cognitive upgrade you will ever undergo. It isn't a shift you make once. It's a daily practice of choosing presence over prediction. If you've spent your life mastering the external world only to realize your internal world is still a high-stakes battlefield, you've found the right space. We are dedicated to deconstructing the psychological barriers that keep high performers isolated in their own brilliance. By joining this community, you aren't just hitting a button.
That's why we're here.
You are committing to a weekly recalibration of your analytical mind. Let's continue the work of turning your intelligence back into a gift instead of a prison.
Wonderful, isn't it?
Just being
Subscribe to master the mechanics of a life that finally feels as deep as it is successful.